And hello, movie lovers. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I actually have Trust with me today, and we're going to be talking about Life is But a Dream. This is the new Avenged Sevenfold album, and I'm really excited to be doing this. This is actually going to be our intermission series, and I'll explain what intermission means in a minute when we get started. But for further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get on with it. I'm excited to have Trust here, so let's do it. And hey, man, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. And I just want to tell everybody what intermission is, basically. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is this. Think of it as you purchasing your not concert ticket, but your movie ticket, and you're in line and you're talking to somebody, and they just happen to talk about different things. So think of it of us just waiting in line, and we're talking about the new Avenged Sevenfold album, "Life Is But a Dream." And so I figured, what better way to have this conversation with than an Avenged Sevenfold fan, just like I am. And he's also the one who talked me into re-listening to this album after I shit on it and after I wind it up. Just giving this album hell because of the fact that I was not used to it. I went into it very negatively. I actually canceled my pre-order after listening to singles, and then he's like, dude, you should go on ahead and re-listen to it again. And then at first I'm like, yeah, okay, I think I'll go on ahead and do that. And then I sit on it for, I'm like, well, maybe I should. So I wind up re-listening to it, and I winded up finding a lot of stuff that I really like within this album. So I just want to say thank you for telling me to give me the challenge to re-listen to it.
Anytime, man. Happy I could actually persuade you into listening to it.
Most definitely. It was definitely a treat going into it again. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, it takes a while to get there to where I feel like that I'm really excited for this, because at first I'm like, I'm kind of bored with it because I'm driving. It's early in the morning. I'm like, I'm kind of bored. And then whenever I get off work, I'm like, I'm going to try it again. Then I'm finally like, I get it. It's starting to click. I'm starting to jive with it. This whole entire thing is an experimental record, and it works.
Yeah,
Hey, Roxy.
I love the concept album. I love the concept that they went with. It's really fun to me. Like, I'll just say right now, it's my favorite Avenged Sevenfold album to date. It's so different from everything that they've released. It's the most guitar centric album that they have. The acoustic parts are really amazing in this album. It's a fun listen. It gets your mind really thinking, and it just gets you thinking about different things. I'm a person where I really am fascinated with like what happens after you die, and this album really kind of feeds that thought that I have, and it just really gets you thinking about stuff. So I love this album. It's a really good job that they've done.
Most definitely, man. And let's just talk about this for a minute. So this is actually their eighth studio album, of course. Then also too, they end up coming out with the stage in 2016. They wind up having a little bit of a lawsuit or whatever. They're suing, I believe, the record label at that time, and with Warner Brothers in the mid 2000s, 2010s, and then they go back to Warner Brothers to do this one. And I think it works better in their favor with them being with Warner Brothers versus Capitol Records.
Yeah, I agree.
But let's go on ahead. So we start off with track one, Game Over. To me, the intro has a mariachi and Calm Before the Storm kind of vibe and a touch of System of a Down, which reminds me of a Helmet song called Unsung, but more of a faster drum style, and the guitar riff is a lot heavier and has more of a thrash style like Burn It Down. It sets the tone for the album itself.
Yeah, I really like the acoustic intro. It's so settling. It's like a really light rain before a really heavy storm, and that heavy storm being that super crash, that guitar chord that comes in, that's just earth-shattering sound. The crash from the drum cymbals is just that break from that they do. Avenged Sevenfold does a really good job of just how they transition the songs. They really change the pace of a song very well, and they do it really well with Game Over. And I after listening to Game Over a few times and actually looking at the lyrics, you realize that once he says now I realize I don't belong here anymore, that he's talking about now I'm gonna kill myself, because then later on he goes to say, tie the rope, throw it over the branch, and now I hang from my family tree. It's just so, the wordplay is just so great, and they did a really good job. And as we talk through more of the tracks, I think track 1 and 2 really build up to the grand finale of Nobody, which is Nobody, Now You're Dead. And that's like kind of the culmination of those 3 songs. And then the rest of the album kind of goes into like a what happens after you die type of thing. The album is set really well. Like those song placements, they've done a really good job with it.
Roxy says she loves your shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
She's a diehard Avenged Sevenfold fan.
I've been listening to Avenged Sevenfold since 2003, so I have wanted to put on something old school.
But, you're absolutely right, though, when you look at the lyrics to it, and it's about death. And also, too, I want to say this, like, with them having the loss of the Rev and everything, too, it's him trying to process the death still and trying to think and basically saying, I no longer belong here. I don't belong on this earth now or anything. Because basically he's saying he's a nobody. And then that's what I think that the following track actually means, though, too, to be honest with you, where it's basically saying, look, I'm still trying to comprehend what happened with Rev. I'm still trying to comprehend my life of death. Stuff like that, too. And I don't belong here anymore. I'm just a visitor visiting on this earth for a short period of time. And when my time is up, my time is up, and I have to face death.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I feel with it. And Roxy says, "Oh, I've listened to Pinky Smooth."
Oh, dude, really quick, since she brought up Pinky Smooth, I love Pinky Smooth, and if the Rev was still alive, I know we'll talk about the final track later on, but the final track being a piano song, the Rev 100% would have played it, because he played the piano in Pinky Smooth. And back in 2021, I got signed on to a 100-person petition, and I got like some limited edition Pinky Smooth re-release stuff. It's all has Aphrodite. I have like number 5 of 100. I got like a DVD of them playing live and Chain Reaction. It's really sick. Pinky Smooth is awesome. I've been a fan of Pinky Smooth since about 2007, and I've been trying to find Unfortunate Snort ever since then. It's so hard to find.
It definitely is.
Awesome.
I've listened to Pinky Smooth a lot, and I definitely got like the vibe that Jimmy has within that style and stuff. Yeah. You can actually sense it on every single Avenged Sevenfold album. And also, too, I mean, even though the Rev's not with us, you still have the Pinky Smooth kind of vibe within each album with his fingertips on it.
Well, like what I told you with Beautiful Morning, they take a line from Pinky Smooth, and that whole kind of intermission part in that song is kind of like a little bit Pinky Smooth sounding. Even with like how the vocals that M Shadow does in that song, it kind of has like a Jimmy vibe to it. And that little middle section, I love it. It's so good.
Most definitely. So track 2 is another one. This is my favorite one on the album. Metal has a solid beat. It has the bare bones and some autotune when needed, because of M Shadow's vocals are being shot, and then the doctors are saying, well, we don't know if you'll be able to sing anymore or anything like that. So he's trying to find the vocal range within it in itself, and then uses the autotune to help carry out the vocals. And I think it works perfectly in this song. And also, too, 2 minutes and 53 minutes into the seconds into the song, it's my favorite thing because of the guitar riff that they're using in this song.
It's between. So I have this song and another song later on in the album that are probably my 2 favorites. This one is just, from start to finish, it's just such a good listen. The chorus is really good. I love M Shadow's vocals on this song. I love the guitar solo. It's just, the guitar solos on this whole album are really good, but this one is just one of those standout guitar solos. And just the lyrics, I really love the lyrics on this song. It's just a badass song.
My favorite part is this, Vinyl skin provides protection and holds in place my plastic
Yeah.
bones. Cast buttons, eyes reflected an image, and all seems as it should, but there's nobody home. I love that.
And I love how he says, "Cue the breeze that sway the painted trees." I just love that it's saying that everything is all a simulation. It's all artificial. It's just I love this song. It's so good.
It's
Yeah,
so
like
mature though.
the song, like you could tell this album is made by 5 people who have 20 plus years of music experience. Like it shows within the music, and they've been working on the album since 2019. Obviously, with some delays due to COVID and everything, but
Right.
the album is so polished. It's their best work yet. Like with the stage, they definitely went, also with a more concept album wise, but this album they just went full fledged, and I love that they released something that they actually wanted to release. They knew that this was going to separate fans. They knew that there was going to be people who either loved it or hated it. There's really no middle ground here. There's not like
No.
I kind of like it. It's either you love it or you hate it. And for me, like I've said, it's my favorite album that they've released. It's so different. It's so much fun, and I have a hard time finding myself going back and listening to other Avenged Sevenfold due to the fact that I love this album so much. Anytime I open up my Apple Music and I go to Avenged Sevenfold, I scroll all the way down and go to Life is But a Dream. And then the first song I go to usually is Easier. And then I just work my way around the whole album. This album's so much fun to listen to.
It definitely is, and I'm like I said before, I was really not that into this album at first. And then re-listening to the lyrics and realized that there's a lot of quotable lyrics within the songs itself, and a lot more meaning and a lot more structure and layered to it compared to like City of Evil and everything
Yeah.
else. You know what I'm saying? I think this is the more structured album and more mature album that we've gotten from them,
Yeah.
and I think it's just fantastic, and I think it's a fun album. It's just a deep album.
It's a deep album, but at the same time, it talks about things that are very simplistic, like capitalism and we love you. It talks about very obvious things, but I love the way Avenged Sevenfold does it. Avenged Sevenfold just has this certain way that they do things that I love it. I don't know what it is. They just have this sound to them that I just can't get over.
Same here. It's just it's a little subtleness to the sounds of how they do things with this album that just
Yeah.
clicks and works in every aspect of it. And especially whenever you have two different types of styles going on at the same time. It feels like AM FM radio trying to mess with you in a sense where you have static trying to come in through one side and then the other side is the vocals coming in.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're doing too much. Then I have to pause it sometimes. I'm like, but does it work?
You
And
know,
then
that is some of my cons with the album, is the fact that some of the songs, like Ordinary, at the end of Ordinary and at the end of Death, it just has like that blaringly loud like sound that is just, it's almost ear piercing. Like it kind of takes you out of it. Like at the end of Ordinary going into the beginning of Death, that loud ass sound is just, I'm not into it. Like
it sounds like a bad chainsaw that just won't end.
Yeah, and it's prolonged and it's so loud and it just gets louder. And like same thing with Cosmic. Like I love like what after the solo in Cosmic, which is a great solo, and then it goes into like that piano and like the whole tempo just changes, which I love. That's like my favorite part of the song. But it starts to, like a little bit after it goes on, it starts to have that horn that just gets louder and louder until everything just stops. And then like the intergalactic keyboard comes in, which I love, but
I love the
I love that intergalactic keyboard sounds, but I just the loud horns and everything, not a fan of.
No.
That's the one thing I really don't like.
See, Roxy says metal is great. Took her a while to get into it, but nonetheless great track.
Same here.
But I think if they wanted stopping that chainsaw kind of sound effect with metal, I think it would actually landed a lot louder. It just feels like it's in your face to the point it's like, I'm done with the song. You ended it on a high note. Why would you go ahead and put more into it whenever it doesn't need to be into it?
That song took me a while to get into. It was a song I skipped over, but then I started listening to it more and more, and then it became one of my favorites.
Right. But another thing I want to add though to the chainsaw part that we were mentioning was, what if it's actually there to show the distortion and these how this experience for them with this album is just basically a disarray. And it's an
Yeah.
experimental album, and it's about the separation of what we're used to and accustomed to, and separating what we're used to listening to. Maybe it's a metaphor for something, but at the same time, it's just I'm just going a little deep, but I just feel like it's just loud and in your face to the point where it's like, okay, I'm done with this song. Fast forward, give me the next track. And
Yeah,
so,
I think they did enough different things to where the horn is honestly unnecessary. And this is the second album where they've actually done something completely different, because with their self-titled album, I mean, they did a country song on there, A Little Piece of Heaven's from there. They did all these weird songs. So they're definitely not a stranger to doing things outside of the box.
no.
But the horns, yeah, they that can go out. I'm fine without those.
So now we're going to get into the single, which is Nobody, right?
Yeah.
So this was to me the most confusing track on the album, because I remember like, oh yes, hell yeah. New Avenged Sevenfold album. It's coming out. New single. I'm excited for it. I'm expecting Sinister Gates to come out with his guitar solo. I'm expecting some great guitar drumming and stuff like that. And then it just feels like AM FM radio, two different types of sounds going on at the same time, and it feels distorted. It feels like it's kind of off-putting a little bit as well. And you know, this is also something I wanted up saying. It's completely different from what Avenged Sevenfold does. I wasn't expecting this from coming right out of the gate. The vocals were a little dry at with this one, and it was kind of off key.
Yeah. So for me, obviously the single came out in early March, and when I first heard it, it took me a second. I honestly think once I watched the music video, which was probably like my third listen to it, and I saw the music video, it just kind of clicked for me. I don't know what it was, but just seeing imagery to the song, it just kind of made it click for me. And then I fell in love. I love the solo at the end. I actually really like M. Shadow's vocals. I like how his vocals have matured. I like his vocals more now than I did back in the day. I really like kind of like that raspiness that he has in his vocals. I think it just sounds so good. I don't know what it is, but I really like this song, and I like how the drum has like that ticking sound, because it makes it seem like that the clock is running out, and it's just a seconds running down. I love that ticking sound. It just really gives like it, because the song is about dying. Like the song is about
Mm-hmm.
now I'm woken up. Like he says, I'm awake, I'm the dead, I'm a man without a head. He's talking about now I've had the ultimate enlightenment. I'm actually awake, and that's what this whole album is about. Because I've seen a video and it was saying that, it's talking about what happens after you die, and it says once you die, you wake up, you have the ultimate enlightenment, and then the life that you're living right now, it's like a dream. When you wake up, you remember lots of things, but 5 minutes later, you remember bigger details, but the smaller details you kind of start to forget. 10 minutes later, you remember a little bit of it. 20 minutes later, what dream are we talking about? And that's what this whole album is about. It's just saying life is but a dream. Once you wake up, all of this is just a dream, and you forget about this whole life that you're living. You forget
Right.
about the past life that you had, and that's what Nobody is about. It's about waking up, and yeah, I love it. I think it's a really good song.
Most definitely, and I think that's a very good concept as for what he's doing with it. It's about the beginning of life, of how you used to remember everything as a kid, and going
Yeah.
into from going your teenage years to adulthood, then getting older and not remembering anything, and then slowly that life is depicting from you, and you don't remember everything, and then finally when you die, it's like, yeah, life is but a dream. That I used to everything I used to know is not everything I knew from before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get the idea of it. It's just like this track for me. I like the ticking of it. I like the whole concept of it, but for me, it just doesn't land as for me and everything.
I
But
get
I'm
that.
happy that you got something out of it though,
Oh
and stuff
yeah.
like that too. you know?
And also really quick, because I didn't get to really say this on Game Over. I love how the verse, like all the verses, is talking about memories that he's had. High school. High school threesome, prom, wedding. He's talking about all the things that he's had before. Then he decides, I don't belong here anymore. This is, it's over for me, type of thing.
Right.
I just really wanted to touch on that really quick.
I definitely like how it backtracks on that as well with the song. Is going into, like you said, when you're young and everything, going in through all the stuff that you used to do, and then getting older and realizing you can't do the stuff that you used to do anymore. And you're just doing some self-reflecting on the things that you used to do and realize that part is also basically life is but a dream.
Exactly.
Because that's my past and I can't do what I used to do in my past. So that's actually my dreams and everything. Yeah. And this is my life now.
I mean, time is irrelevant in all honesty. So everything that you remember in the past is just a certain time in your life that you remember. It's not like a real. We associate things with dates, but time's irrelevant completely. So, yeah, this album, the concept is just it's so great. I knew that going into it that I was already gonna love the album, and it's the only thing I've listened to pretty much since it's released in June. I've just been on it like fucking flies on shit, dude. Seriously.
I remember you telling me, like, you know this album like frontwards and backwards.
I have no notes, dude. The only thing I have is my stack of Avenged Sevenfold CDs next to me. I have 0 notes. I don't need any notes, man. I've listened to this album enough that I could just talk about it freely.
You see, me on the other hand, I need the notes just to help me out, though, just to guide me along my way, to explain how this album made me feel compared to where I was whenever I was first listening to it to where I am now.
I get you.
Because I like to just go deep on certain things and, do some self-reflecting, because it may not have landed well for me the first time, and I'm not going to trash anybody for experimenting with their sound, because I like the fact that artists experiments with their sound. And not every album is going to be for everybody. So I was like one of those people at that time was like, okay, well, this album's not for me, but if it's for you, I'm happy for you. It's just not for me. And then I wind up you challenged me, and I was like, you know what? This album is pretty good. So
I think every Avenged Sevenfold album has its own unique sound, from 77 Trumpet all the way up to Nightmare. Hail to the King. Every album has a very unique sound to it, and this album being no different than that. I just think that, for me, like, it's just so outside of their comfort zone, and it's something so new. And I will say, first time around, really took me a second. First time around, I'm not going to say that I'm like, oh, I was jamming it. I was like, but I knew, like, second time around and everything, and once I started hearing it more and everything, I really started to enjoy it. And the first time around, I heard some songs, I heard some parts that I really liked in it, and those were songs I first went back to on my second go around. And those were the songs I really started to pick up on. And I started listening to the songs that maybe I didn't listen to as much on my second go around. And then the whole album, I just really started to love.
That's how I normally listen to records, though, too. Like, I'll skim around to see what hits for me.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back and listen to it more cohesively and everything as a whole to actually get the whole idea behind the music itself. So I'm pretty much like shopping around, seeing what I like on each album, on each song, and then after that I'll go ahead and do it. So yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, this album is just, I can't say enough good things about it. I can't put this album on enough of a high pedestal. It's Avenged Sevenfold at their prime, in my opinion.
So speaking of loving this album, we actually have another song called "We Love You."
Yeah.
So the intro is off key, and to me, the vocals might have gotten killed in the editing process. But I think the point of the overall album is to throw you off of what you're used to, what they used to give us. And later on, they give us a little bit more thrash metal and has a little bit of pinkly smooth kind of feel, where the acoustic slide guitar is really smooth at the end. Middle of the song has a System of a Down kind of feel with the vocals in the slow down, and then hits us even harder with the thrashing later on.
Yeah, I love how this song ends. The acoustic in like the last minute 40 of how the song ends, it's just so good. And I enjoy the vocals on this song. And I, so for me, like the music video was one of the things that I really just wasn't all that into. I really liked the music video for Nobody. I feel like the second music video didn't really hit as hard for me, but I really liked this song. It definitely was one of those songs that it probably took me the most listens to actually get into because it was really different, the drumming style, the vocal style. But after a while, I really did start to get into this song, and it is one of my favorites on the song. I really like both of the singles that they released for this album, and I'm
This
really
one I
excited.
definitely
I'm
like.
excited for like the third single that they release. I'm really excited to see what third single that they're gonna release, which I think it will probably be Cosmic. If I had to guess, I think
Cosmic
it'll be
has the.
Cosmic.
I'll be real with you. I think Cosmic has the legs to be a single,
Yeah, I do too.
and I think that it needs to be the single for it.
Yeah,
You know,
I think either it'll be that or it'll be Beautiful Morning because they usually do like how they did Sunny Disposition on the stage. They did like kind of a harder song for the single. They did This Means War for, the Hail to the King. So they might do like a little bit of a heavier song and go with Beautiful Morning. But I think Cosmic would, I mean, people are so excited for his second leg of the tour because M Shadows has said that Cosmic will be making it onto the set list. They're just trying to
good.
find out a way to make it sound good live because it has the overlapping vocals and stuff like that. So they want to make it sound good live.
Right. That's another thing I want to mention is too. Like all the music seems like it's in the background, and
Yeah.
then all the vocals is up front, and then you have the overlapping of the vocals itself, which makes it even that much harder to try and perform live.
I think that Brooks Wackerman, he's a phenomenal drummer. He can play offbeat insanely well. He could play any style of drumming. The guy is really good. And I think that they have the perfect drummer for this album. I think that regardless of any song, I think he'll be able to bring it out live. I mean, he plays Metallica live perfectly, and the drumming sounds chaotic as hell on that song. And he brings it out perfectly. Same with Nobody. He plays it perfectly. I mean, he is just a really well-rounded drummer, and he started out learning in jazz. That's where his whole roots are in drumming. It's all jazz. So his cymbal work and his foot blood and his kick pedal work is just insane. That guy is awesome. They got the perfect drummer. And
I think
I
so too.
honestly, I can't imagine the drumming being any different even if the Rev was around. I think if the Rev still was around though, because he didn't start writing any songs on Avenged Sevenfold until their self-titled album. He wrote a little bit of MIA, but he had no songwriting until, the self-titled album. I think this album would have been even a little bit more over the edge if the Rev was still around. Because I mean,
I think so too.
you hear a little piece of heaven. He did that whole composition of that song. I think this album would have just had an awesome touch if he was still around.
I think so too. I think with him being around, it would add a lot more edgier to it. It'd
Yeah,
be, and the drumming style would be a lot more of that thrash helmet kind of vibe to it,
yeah,
which is what we're used to. Because I remember reading in Revolver magazine about how they used to sound, and basically the production manager's like, "Look, you need to slow down your drumming style and everything." And because I like what you're doing, but you're banging all over the place. So he actually had to pretty much slow him down a little bit and stuff
jeez.
like that to try and get him in line on what they need to do as far as the record goes. But
Okay.
I definitely like the edgier and thrashier side of Rev though,
Oh, I do
and also
too.
his vocals too.
The Rev's vocals are amazing. And then that's the one thing that I really like about Pinkley Smooth. His vocals are just amazing. Like their song McFly, oh my gosh, his vocals are just so good.
Um, but
It's
uh,
just, yeah.
but also too, I think "We Love You" is like the most political song that we have on this album
Oh, for sure.
because more power, more pace, more money, more taste, more sex, more pills, more skin, more shills, more wants, more needs, more hits, morphine, more speed, more drive, more self, more time, build tall, build higher, build far, build wider, which to me is a business man type of thing of doing with the bigger, because I already know who they're talking about
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah. Capitalism.
Yep.
The song's about capitalism. to the core, and
Yep.
all the billionaires that we have. You know,
Yep. All the medical corporations, everything rolled up into one big, huge thing. And it's not the first time that Avenged has ever done anything political either, because MIA was also a political song, stuff like that too. So I definitely like where they mix it up a little bit, where it's like self-reflecting on your own life, and then they focus on what's going on in the world today, and they go back over to the self-reflection. And I definitely like how they do that.
Yeah, I think that I really like how at the end it starts to really speed up and everything, and I like that European dance vibe that it has once it starts to just have that kick drum and everything. The song is just so much fun, man.
So let's see here. So we got Cosmic. Cosmic is next. So this is actually my favorite song on the album because of the guitar solo that Sinister Gates delivers. It has a Dream Theater kind of flavor to it because I love Dream Theater. And there was like, I forgot what album it was. It was like a 7-minute or 15-minute long song, and with Dream Theater, and it winds up being different types of styles and within one song. And this is no different. This is no different. And it has different types of styles going in it. It actually does feel like a cosmic kind of energy of it. Also has a Far Away, the song So Far Away. It also has that kind of vibe going into this song as well. So I could pick up on So Far Away in this. I just think it's just a great song. And I really enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites off the record. Probably my third favorite off the record. I love the guitar solo. It's so perfectly put together. Sinister Gates, he really shines on this record. Like, when he said that this is the most guitar-centric album, this solo definitely shows how guitar-centric it really is. And then how the guitar solo just kind of crashes and goes into, like, how the song just changes complete tempo and just really slows down. And, you know, God, how'd the lyrics go? Dancing in the wind as roses born again. There you'll find me before the dawn of man, and castles made of sand. That whole part is just so good, and I really like. And the first part of that, because obviously they do it again, but in the first part, it has like the piano and everything, and it's like really old kind of vibey. And then when it goes into the other part, it's kind of like futuristic-y. You get the intergalactic keyboard, and then it goes into the auto-tune version of it. And I love how they do both versions of it. I just think that it's a really well put together song. And it's one of the longer tracks on a song, but it feels so short because of how good it is. It doesn't feel like that it overdoes anything. It's just really well. The only problem I have with it is it has that horn as it starts getting closer into like the auto-tune
climax,
part.
right?
Yeah, it has like that horn when everything stops. That's the only problem I have with the song. But other than that, I think it's a really good song and one of the best on the records.
Same here. And you know what, man? I actually have that part of the lyrics that you were quoting written down because that's actually one of my favorite lines within the lyrics itself for Cosmic.
Yeah, it's beautiful, dude.
It really is. And basically, I believe the horn is like a metaphor for your time is up.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it to be there, but at the same time, you still get that concept with just the lyrics itself.
Exactly.
You don't need to add sound effects. You're not doing a movie or anything to explain to us what you're going after. You have it within the lyrics itself.
This isn't a score for a movie. This is an album.
Right.
See, it's like how you
cinematic feel though.
It's like how you feel with Nobody. You enjoy, you like the concept, but it's just the delivery on it. And I feel the same thing with the horn. I get it gets louder, and then everything just stops. I get it. I really like it, but it could have stopped without the horn, and I still would have got that same feel. It's just I'm a type of person where when I listen to music, I turn that shit up. I want to feel the music. I want to feel the waves coming off of the stereo. Like, that's how much I want to listen to my music. And the horn, when that comes on, it's like I feel like I have to turn it down a little bit because it's so damn loud. You
It's
know what I
in your
mean?
face, just like that
It's really in your
chainsaw.
face.
type.
Yeah. It's blaringly loud. But I get it. I mean, I get it, and like I said, it's one of my favorite songs on the record.
So let's see here. Next thing we have is Beautiful Morning. It reminds me of a cross between Dream Theater. But you want to know what else this reminds me of, man? A little bit of Alice in Chains. This is like a throwback to Alice in Chains. And even in the lyrics itself, it feels like he's paying homage to the original singer of Alice in Chains.
Yeah, it does.
And everything, too. And also, too, it has a Beach Boys kind of vibe in the middle of the song, and then they whack us over the head with another guitar solo, which is not bad that they whack us over the head, because I'll listen to Sinister Gates do guitar solos and guitar riffs all day long. I don't care. But they hit us over the head with the guitar solo. Then they pull you back to this a more structured Avenged Sevenfold that we know and love as well.
Yeah, honestly, I love how the song enters with the "I stay stoic" or "I sit so stoic." I just love like how that vocal style, and I really didn't think about it until you said it, but it really does have that Alice in Chains kind of sound to it, like how the vocals are and that kind of just almost monotone kind of singing in the first verse. I just really like it, and this song does have a line from Pinkly Smooth, a song that was originally meant for Pinkly Smooth, where it says it's a beautiful morning, it's a beautiful day, everybody's smiling in a beautiful way. That's originally supposed to be in a Pinkly Smooth song, which obviously Avenged Sevenfold kicked off, so they kind of put Pinkly Smooth on the back burner. But that was originally meant for that song. And that whole middle part, kind of after that line, that whole kind of part just kind of has a Pinkly Smooth vibe to me. How the vocals are in that really kind of high vocal kind of way. That's really how Jimmy does it in Pinkly Smooth. And I think that they really took some inspiration from that and put it in there. And then you go from that part into the solo that is just out of left field, and it's so aggressive and it sounds so good. I just love how he just runs up and down the neck of the guitar and just hitting every fret. It just sounds so good. I love it. It just comes in so hard with such a hard chord, and it's awesome. It just totally, like I said, Avenged Sevenfold, they could change the tempo of the song so well, so fast, and they do it. It's just masterclass.
It definitely is. And then also too, the lyrics to it. Okay, so my favorite part of it is toss a rope over the branch and fall into the night, and here I swing from my family tree and say goodnight. Can't you see me? Life is but a dream anyway. Whenever I hear the ending of that and everything, it has that Beach Boys kind of flavor to it. It has a California kind of style of dreaming kind of thing to it, where you actually feel the vibe of California and having the vibe of that and death and having maybe smoothly just exiting life.
Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%. This song, it was one of my favorites from the get. Like, I just love it. I love the chorus. You know, you walk on water, but the water swallows you. You're like no other. You're the only one in view. The chorus is really good. This whole song is good, and I really love that super hard riff that this song carries. It's just so good. Just one of those songs that is hard not to just bang your head to.
Exactly. And then even the part where he actually throws in one F-bomb in this thing, it works. It's not over, it's not too much or anything. It's just perfect.
No.
Because the bestest part of waking up, mundane ideation, this dark roast got me so fucked up.
Yep.
That could have easily been so forced within the songwriting itself, but the way he does it is just so smooth.
I think it's really funny. I think it's really funny you say that, because that line, when I was listening to it before we started the show, I saw that, and that line, it just made me laugh when I read that, because it's just so funny thinking of the mundane process of going to work every single day and just drinking your dark roast coffee and how fucked up it's got you, because it's got you all jittery and shit. I fucking love it. It's really good.
C-Bar, he says, "What's up, y'all? This kid is the go-to for Avenged
Oh yeah, thank you. Like I said, I've been listening to him since 2003. heard of them on fucking Headbangers Ball on MTV2 on Holy
That's how I knew
Confessions. And I just, once I heard on Holy Confessions, I was hooked. And then I remember Backcountry coming out in 2005, and I had a Zune, a big ass Zune that was like a Bible, and just listened to City of Evil with my friends over at fucking Whedon Park, and just listened to Avenged Sevenfold with my friends. Skate, listen to Avenged Sevenfold, rinse and repeat.
So let's see. We actually have another song called "Easier." It has a Daft Punk kind of flavor to it. It also has a sublime reggae kind of flavor to it, mixed with blues. Also, like bringing the climax, how it brings the climax up and then bringing you back down again to give us the next song as well.
This is my favorite song on the record, hands down. When I go to put on this record, this is the first song I play. I love the solo, has so much groove in it. I mean, it is so good, and I love the lyrics. I love how it does a little slight overlapping of vocals on the second verse. This whole song, he sings like he is a valley. Like, you know, he says, man, it's so good. You know, I found a plateau where I cursed at the sky, and it's just, man, the lyrics are good. The whole song is just, man, I can't say enough good things about this song. It's just so good. I can listen to it on repeat all day and with no problems. And this is a song that was a demo. It was originally meant to come out on Diamonds in the Rough back in 2008, but the demo, it just wasn't far enough along. And you can find the demo on YouTube. It sounds completely different. It sounds like a song that would have been on Diamonds in the Rough. It just wasn't in a spot where they wanted to release it yet. So this is one of those songs that they brought back from way back in the library. This is from 2008.
I'm glad they did, though,
and
because
they decided to rework it, and it sounds awesome. It's so good, man.
I'm glad they reworked it, because you can definitely tell that it's like an older song, but at the same time, the way they structured it, the way they brought it to life with this album is perfect for an experimental album, because you're bringing something that's old into the mix and trying to bring something new to it, just as they're trying to bring something new to their old style way of doing things. So I think this is a perfect song to actually go with this album for an experimental type of thing. And
I do too.
Let's see here. There's actually another lyric I like. Days like this come as days go, and all that you love just as soon be goodbyes. What was so far for so long, now be what for long.
So hold applause until the end of the ride, and then it goes into that badass groove solo. Man, That song is so fucking good. I love that song. Like, sorry, I have to geek out. That song is so fucking good, though. Awesome, that song hits. Like, yeah, and the fucking riff that song has is so fucking heavy, dude. Top to bottom. I mean, that is like, every one of them they're firing on all cylinders throughout this whole album. It gets in, it gets the job done, they get the point that they want to get across, and then they get the fuck out. They do a great job on this album. There's not a second wasted. There's not a second on this album that you feel like, they could have cut that out to make it a little bit shorter. Everything feels like that is on this album for a purpose. It's great. Like, this disc gets packed with this is their best content, man. I think so too. They really, like, I mean, now they're in their early 40s, and I mean, they are just playing awesome. I love it, man.
I do too. So let's go on ahead. Let's go over to the next one, which is G. And this is the way I described it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on how I described it, but it has a fusion jazz prog, complex, and has a Mike Patton feel to it. It also has like a female vocals in the mix with it being halfway through the album. I think that is perfect to give us something different.
Yeah, I will say it's probably my least favorite song on the record. Not saying that it's a bad song, but if I had to pick a least favorite song, this would probably be it. I like the song. I get the whole purpose of the song, and I get the meaning of the song. Realizing that God's kind of, or if they say quotations, God's created all of this 7 days of bullshit, a wave of my hand. I get it. I like the song. like I said, it's not one of my favorites. I like the sound of it. I like the chorus, and I like the female vocal added. I think that it actually really kind of helps carry the song. And I like the guitars on it. The guitar is something that's really different than what we would hear in a usual Avenged Sevenfold song. It's not like a deeper chord progression. It's a really kind of high chord progression that you hear more in like a punk rock type of sound. So I really like what they did there. Everything just sounds kind of loose, and it's just a really nice kind of flowy song. And I also like the added vocals where they say, good, not too bad for a first try, and I like at the end he's like, where's the delete button? Delete. And he's like, and he's like, one robot, and then it goes into that intergalactic, into the beginning of Ordinary. I think that G, Ordinary, and Death all really flow super well into each other. And for me, if I listen to G, I can't listen to G without listening to Ordinary. It's just impossible. I have to. I love when he just goes one robot and then it goes right into the intergalactic keyboard. It just sounds so good. It's such a good transition and really
they do
easy
transition
on the ears.
well together.
Yeah, it's
Because
super easy on the ears.
It's a cohesive story. It's just a narrative of a story being told and being followed through to the next track. So you're on this journey with the same person, and therefore it's a continuation of that story from G, which is something I like. And everything, even though it might not be our favorite song on the album, but we can understand the concept of it and how it follows up with it.
And I do listen to G a decent amount on the record. It's not a song that I skip over. Like if it comes on, it's not like I'm going to skip this song. I listen to it. I enjoy it, but it's not going to be like, like the third song that I'm going to listen to when I go on the record. I'm going to listen to Easier, then I'm going to listen to Mattel, and then I'll probably go to like Nobody, or I'll go to Cosmic or something like that,
Right.
But I definitely listen to it.
I also feel like, how we've been quoting different lyrics to each song, right? I feel like this one is like the least quotable, and it's not in a bad way. It's just nothing that just sticks with you as some of the other lyrics do. And and I like the concept of it. It's just I wanted it to stick with me a lot more, and it just doesn't for me.
Yeah, I actually, that's a good point. I think it's a good song. It's just not one of those standout songs. Because, that's a good point. There aren't really no quotable lyrics in this. It's not that the lyrics are bad or anything. It's just that there's nothing that really pops out to you when you see it. And when I was listening to the record before we started the show, I was listening to it on Apple Music, and I was just looking at the lyrics the whole time and went back to a few things that I really saw in some songs. But, this is one of those songs that, I listened to and I was enjoying it. But, nothing to go back to.
Exactly. That's actually how I feel, though, about this one. So now we have O, which is Ordinary. And this one also has the Daft Punk kind of feel of Up All Night to Get Lucky. And it also has a Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of vibe to it, too. And I just love the vocals of this song. I just love it. It has this groovy kind of feel to it, where it just gets you up and moving and dancing a little bit. And I just love it.
Yeah, I do, too. And the thing I really like about this song being this kind of style and this jazzy sound is that we kind of get to see Johnny Christ shine on the bass guitar, because we don't really get to see him shine that much. On Waking the Fallen, they wanted the bass to be super low, almost like an Injustice for All type of low, where the bass is almost unnotable in the album. And we kind of get to see Johnny Christ just really get groovy on the bass and just really shine. So it's nice to see that, and it's really nice to see Avenged Sevenfold just do a song like they've never done before. It's so different, and it's so good. They did it so well. And that's the thing that they do. Like, Dear God, that's one of their singles. That's a country song, and it's so good. I'm not a country fan, but I really like that song. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like the biggest jazz fan or the biggest like funk type of fan. But with this song, it's so funky and it's just so good, man.
It just hits.
It's just, it really hits, man. And it's just,
it has that groove where, like if let's say that you're not the most energetic person in the morning time, it has that funky kind of vibe where it just gets you up and just moving and grooving a little bit.
Gets you bobbing your neck and everything, like you're really feeling it. It really
Even in
has
my
that
car at
dark
5
roast
o'clock in
really
the
fucked
morning,
up.
right? Because, dude, like in my fucking car at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm over there like, oh yeah, I'm getting in the mood to work, with this song. But let's see. Rossi says, "What's up, guys?" And then she
What
also
is up?
says, "Loving the segment. Thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. We're enjoying this conversation and stuff like that too. Just vibing with Avenged Sevenfold and everything. If YouTube would allow it, we would actually be blasting this as we're reviewing it. But since we can't, but this. So let's go on ahead. Let's go with Death, which is actually the 10th song on the album. And before we jump into Death, do you feel like there's any type of lyrics that stand out for you as far as Ordinary goes?
I mean, I like the lyrics. Will you let me, take control, and I want to be the person you see. I mean, I like the lyrics and everything, but there's really nothing that stands out. I just think that the most thing that stands out is the musical style that they went with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the standout thing, and it sounds really good live. I've watched live videos; they play it very well live. But I mean, there's nothing that really stands out with it.
I feel the same way, to be honest with you. The music itself sticks with me more than the lyrics do.
Yeah.
Because of that grooviness, because of that little funk that we talked about. That's what gets. That's what makes it hot for me. Is that not the lyrics itself for this point?
Yeah.
And I like songs like that. I like the stuff that you can actually just groove with and chill with, versus it just being quotable. And that's something that can stick with you too, just the groove of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think that's one of those songs that you didn't really need anything quotable from. I think that the sound alone is something that is pretty much what they wanted to stick with you. Whereas other songs, the lyrics really help with helping the song stick with you. Like Mattel is one of those where the lyrics really stick with you, and also how the song is set up.
Definitely. So now we actually have Death. And this is actually the 10th song on the album. Before we wrap up with Life Is But a Dream, this has a fiction vibe to it from the album Nightmare to me. And it also has a Frank Sinatra kind of feel with a Nat King Cole kind of vibe. It has more of a, now, tell me if I'm wrong about this. This is like Avenged Sevenfold, like in a lounge area. Like you would actually go into a hotel.
Yeah,
if you would just go to a fucking hotel, and they're just, instead of them playing like elevator music or anything like that, they're playing Avenged Sevenfold in a lounge, and you're just sitting there just listening to Avenged Sevenfold. That's what it sounds like to me.
I agree 100%.
And it's more of a reward for us who are listening to it because it brings everything together for the album. And it's not the last song that wraps everything up together. It's this song that wraps everything up.
Yeah, I think that with this song, it really I like that whole 1950s kind of vibe that it has to it. They've done so many like different little things that they normally want to do in this album, and I think that it just works out perfectly for them. They did the things that they normally would do, they did a lot less of, and the things that they normally don't do, they did a lot more of. And I think that it was a really risky thing that had a big reward. I think that this is one of those songs that it sounds good, and it kind of does, wrap everything up. I think that the title track at the end wraps the whole concept up, but I think that this song kind of wraps everything up. I think that it's a really good ending track that actually has vocals to it.
I think so too.
Now, and I will say this song, as well as Ordinary, because Ordinary, goes into this song, it really has that, what I talked about earlier, that really loud horn sound, and this song has it at the very end. And as the chorus progresses on more and more, the horn gets louder and louder, which, I get that it symbolizes, the end is coming.
Yeah. Right.
But still, it's just so loud, and it kind of takes me out of it. That's the only problem that I really have with the song.
So my question for you for this song, would you think that it would actually work better if the vocals got louder to drown out the sound, to amplify the fact that you're dying and now you're going into the heavens to finally rest?
Yeah, because well, I think actually that would because he uses the word ascended so much in this album. My body has ascended. I have finally ascended. I'm finally home. I think that since this is one of those, death, finally I'm finally home. I'm ascending, and your vocals are kind of getting higher to go along with it. I think that the vocals getting louder would have been more enjoyable than this, horn that's going off. That is honestly, it's almost ear piercing. And I listened to it on these headphones. I have them full blast, and these headphones are very loud. And yeah, that part it's loud, man.
Yeah. It's the chainsaw thing all over again. We talked about this like 3 or 4 times. We don't like the horns. We don't like the chainsaw sound they have on this or anything like that either. And JoJo said something too real quick. She says, hi. Hey, JoJo.
Hey.
Thank you for tuning in. But okay, so now we're going to wrap up. This is just an instrumental song for Life is But a Dream. This, to me, has the sentiments of the stage kind of vibe that we had at the intro of the stage album.
Oh, yeah.
And this feels like a Pinocchio kind of vibe to it. And what I mean by that is like you're on a stage, you know what I'm saying? And it just winds up, it just, to be honest with you, it just sets up like a Pinocchio type of Geppetto kind of feel to it. I don't know. It's just hard for me to explain, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about. For me, like when you get into like the 1 minute point, the piano really starts to kind of change, and it gets into like this really beautiful rhythmic that it has going to it. And piano and metal is like peanut butter and jelly. I love when metal has piano in it. Same thing with like black metal and stuff. That's why I really like symphonic black metal, because I love like keyboards and stuff like that in metal. It goes really well when it's done right. And with going back to Pinkly Smooth, on their album Unfortunate Snort, there's also a song that they have that is Mesmer, which is their second track on the album, and they have a piano version of it. And I love the piano version of that. So I like listening to piano-only songs. And this song, it's really one of those songs that I just love. And the first time listening to this album, I heard this song, and I was like, it's a cool song. I probably won't listen to it, but, it's a cool song. I find myself going back and listening to it a lot. Like, I've listened to this song a decent amount. It doesn't need vocals. I love how the piano sounds. They did a really good job, and this is one of those songs that I was saying that if the Rev was still alive, he 150% would have played this song, because he played piano in Pinkly Smooth, and he plays the piano insanely well, or he did play the piano insanely well. He played the piano on A Little Piece of Heaven. Pretty much anytime they've had piano work in Avenged Sevenfold, he was the one behind the piano. So I think that this would have been an amazing song that he would have done.
I think so too. And I think you could have actually added in vocals with this, even if it's like a quote from, let's say, for instance, if I would actually, now I'm just pretending I'm actually in Shadows here, but if I was actually to put like the song Death and put in my dreams, I stare out at the distance of the city scene, I would actually have that repeated at the same time as you're doing the outro to this music, because of the fact that because they're saying goodbye. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the final line. I think that would actually be more of a sentiment than just having the instrumental there. That's just me. But I am with you, though, when it comes down to orchestra and metal and everything, too, like C-Bar is saying, where he's saying orchestra and metal is a brutal mix. Dimro, Murdoch, and etc.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I love Cradle of Filth and Amphetamine. It's actually hands down one of my favorite songs by them.
Nice.
And the way that it actually works, and then also to November Rain by Guns N' Roses. You also have Black Label Society and everything too.
Oh yeah.
With whenever I hear piano, when I hear orchestra, even with Metallica and stuff like that, I get goosebumps.
Even Ozzy. I mean, dude. Right. Ozzy used great keyboards in their music. Blizzard of Oz filled with keyboards, and it sounds awesome, dude. Mr. Crowley, I mean, come on, dude. Yes. Keyboards on there? That keyboard intro? Come on. I will never get bored of Mr. Crowley. That intro is so badass.
I have to crank that up every single time it comes on Ozzy's Boneyard. And even this is 5 o'clock in the morning, I gotta listen to that. I gotta listen. Like, dude, it's so fucking good. Let's see here. Rossi says John and Echoes. But dude, this has been a fucking pleasure, dude. I love talking music. Don't get me wrong, I like talking movies. Movies is my passion. But to do a segment like this dedicated to Avenged Sevenfold's Life is Beautiful But a Dream, Life is But a Dream, it's just a perfect way of actually doing this segment. And then in case anybody's ever is wondering why this thing is called Intermission, I talked about it earlier, but in case you didn't go back and rewinded anything, basically think of it like this. You're getting your movie ticket into the theater. You're having a conversation with somebody that you don't even know, or maybe your friend, and you're talking about the new Avenged Sevenfold out. So you're talking to a friend or talking to a stranger for a few minutes before you actually go into a movie. So that's where the intermission comes in at. We're going to talk not just music. We're going to talk top 5 comfort movies. We're going to do different things around the intermission stuff that I cannot wait to dive into, because I feel like that I have been handcuffed a little bit to what I want to do. And this is actually my way of actually including new things for us to do. Not as film fans, but just fans of different things, because I'll even do PlayStation, like talk about just the evolution of PlayStation 1, for example, or do something totally different and out there. You know what I'm saying? That no one's even thought about doing. And that's just my way of doing the intermission. But man, it's a pleasure. I'm glad that we did this.
I am too. I'm really happy that you had me on this. Like I said, I love Avenged Sevenfold. I have everything I have so many releases. I mean, I have the signed copy of the stage vinyl still in the plastic. I love Avenged Sevenfold, man. That's my passion.
And I've seen them three times in concert. The other time was in a hurricane when they came down here and they performed. And Bullet for My Valentine was with them, and they actually had to move that concert into the Coliseum because of it. Because you guys are fucking crazy for being out here during a hurricane. What the hell is wrong with you? I was like, because we're bored. Nothing that ever happens down here. Then another thing I went to was the Taste of Chaos tour that they did, and then the Legs and Breast Fest before Thanksgiving. That's what we called it, was Legs and Breast. And so they had them. Buck Cherry was there. They also had a couple of other bands that was with them.
Nice.
But yeah, man, they always put on an awesome show. I wish that I hope they come back down here again, because I want to see Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, they're coming up to Portland, but they're coming with Falling in Reverse, and I think I'll just catch Avenged Sevenfold the next time they loop around over here. I think I'll just wait. And plus,
I think I'll just suffer through it, because that's what I normally do if I don't like certain bands. I'm like, I'll suffer through this. I guess I'll just walk around until the main set comes up, because I remember meeting Maria Brink from In This Moment for the very first time. And Seven Dust was about to hit the thing, but they said that they'll do a meet and greet for In This Moment. My friend Brandon and I, we got up out of our seats and we went and met up with Maria Brink. But the funny thing is, okay, we had my friend Kevin watching our seats. He texts me. He's like, you're missing Seven Dust. I said, who the hell cares? I'm meeting Maria Brink.
I think, honestly, I'd probably just miss Falling in Reverse and go hit the bar and get a few drinks before Avenged Sevenfold comes on. And
let's see here.
Go wasted by that.
C-Bar says, hey, Trust, Benmouth is coming to Sacramento.
Behemoth is coming to Sacramento at the end of September. Well, I wish I had vacation time, because it'd be great to go back to Sacramento and go to a show. I remember in 2016, I flew over to Sacramento. Me and my dad saw Cradle of Filth at Ace of Spades. Really small venue. I mean, we're talking small venue. Me and him were at the very front of the row the whole time. And at the very end of the set, the guy was taken off the set list, and he had one more set list. And all these guys were, hey, let me get it. And I walked up to the stage, and I was like, can I please have that set list? And the guy's like, yeah, here you go. Gave me the set list. I still have their set list from that 2016 show.
Oh, sweet.
It was fucking awesome, dude. They ripped that fucking club apart. It was so good.
I like small venues, though, versus big venues.
Same here.
No,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I saw a band called Born of Osiris. I saw them at K Street Assembly in Sacramento. No security, and I was able to get on stage and jump onto the crowd. It was so fucking. It was the only venue I've ever been able to get on stage, and then the singer, he tapped my shoulder, and I jumped onto the fucking crowd. It was awesome, man.
Let's see here. C-Bar says, such an awesome show. That close to Cradle.
Yeah,
I would have actually killed for that.
Dude, it was crazy. I mean, Ace of Spades is such a small venue, man. And like the drummer was inside a box. He had, pixie glass around him. And then, I mean, dude, they were so close to us. I mean, Danny was right fucking there, dude. It was badass. They put on a really good show. They did a really good job.
Let's see here. I actually got to meet Hell Yeah. I got to meet Chad from Mudvayne. I actually met Vinny from Pantera, Vinny Paul.
Right on.
And I got their autographs and everything. And I just was glad that I got to meet Vinny before he passed away. And I was like, dude, I just want to say Dimebag was actually hands down one of my favorite guitar players ever. And he goes, man, much love to you. Much love to you. I do appreciate the sentiment and everything. And it was also Chad's birthday, so I got to say happy birthday to him.
Nice.
And everything. But it was just awesome.
That's so awesome, dude.
Hell yeah is badass. Hell yeah, man. Get this. I actually saw Hell Yeah when they were first starting out as well.
Nice.
And also Five Finger Death Punch was also another band that I've seen before they got big as well.
I would have loved to see John for a Cowboy. I would love to see John for a Cowboy live, man. They are fucking awesome. Also, Primus. I would like to see Primus live. And I almost went to a Mr. Bungle show because they came up to Crystal Ballroom, but the tickets were like $150. And I was like, I can't afford that right now.
Me either.
But I would have loved to see it because, I mean, Dave Lombardo's the drummer. You got Scotty in on guitars. Like, it's just like a power metal band now. Like, I would have loved to see Mr. Bungle.
But you know what, guys? We're going to try and do something like this again because here's the thing. I love metal. I like alternative rock. I like all this other stuff. So we're going to try and do another intermission later on, and we'll let you know what we're going to be doing. But, man, this was just awesome. And Winona's Big Brown Beaver. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. So we're gonna leave that at that high note on that one. But anyways, man, it was a pleasure to have you on here, just talking music and doing this. And yes, C-Bar, I will be doing more of this and everything too. Stain's new album's coming out next month. This month actually. So I have that on pre-order. So if you're a diehard Stain fan,
but I can listen to the album and I can definitely give a good review of it.
Okay. But yeah, I got that pre-order. I have a bunch of ideas for the Intermission stuff. So I promise you, we're gonna do something music. We're gonna do a little bit of everything. We're gonna mix things up here at Movie Lovers Unite. I hope that you guys enjoy this segment just as much as Trust and I did. And everybody, just do me a favor. Show me some love by smashing that like button, smashing that subscribe button, and going on ahead, commenting below. If you guys go on ahead and rewatch it, tell us what you think. Did you guys like Avenged Sevenfold? Were you split between everything? Were there some aspects to it like Trust and I had or anything? Tell us in the comments. We would like to know. And always until next time, guys, have a great and safe night, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.